All right, well, good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us for Congresswoman Sara Jacobs, CA 53 Service Academy Information Night. My name is Christopher Frantz. I'm a Gold Star Fellow for our district office, and I'm also a Navy veteran myself. And I'm so very proud and excited to be with you all tonight. We'll be playing a video message from the Congresswoman in just a few minutes, but before we do, I'd like to go over a brief rundown of tonight's event. So first, I'd like to let everyone know that tonight's event is being recorded. So while you'll be able to watch the recording if there's any information that you might have missed. We're pleased to have the representatives from the United States Military Academy, the U.S. Naval Academy, the U.S. Air Force Academy, the United States Coast Guard Academy, and the United States Merchant Marine Academy could not make it tonight. However, there will be a video that'll be played on their behalf. And then, as you may know, with the exception of the Coast Guard Academy, all the U.S. Services Academies require congressional nomination for appointment. And I'll be introducing our representative shortly, and I'll also be sharing some details about the selection and nomination process for our office. The representatives will be providing information about the specifics for each of their academies, and then we will open it up to questions, so you'll have the opportunity to engage with them directly. Please hold your questions until each representative has spoken, and also please be aware that tonight's event is strictly for prospective U.S. Military Academy members. Unrelated questions should be directed at our district office, which you could call at area code 619-280-5353. And now, without further delay, I'd like to share a message from Congresswoman Sara Jacobs.
Well, thank you, Chris, and thank you to the representatives from our military academies for joining us tonight to share your time and your insights. And most importantly, thanks to all of you who are interested in serving our country and are here to learn more. As a first-term member of Congress, this is the first year I've had the honor of nominating extraordinary young leaders from the 53rd District to our service academies. As a member of the House Armed Services Committee and the representative of our vibrant and diverse military community here in San Diego, I am especially proud to see so many young people who are passionate and excited about the opportunity to serve. I'd also like to thank the parents and families who've joined us. Military families serve and sacrifice along our incredible service members, so I'm grateful to those of you who are here from the beginning and helping support and guide your loved ones through this process. It's no secret that our country and our communities are navigating an incredibly difficult time. And many of you are probably still adjusting to attending school and planning for your futures in the middle of a global pandemic, all on top of returning to school in person after a year of virtual learning. So the fact that you're here tonight, even amidst all these ongoing challenges, wanting to learn more and wanting to serve, gives me a lot of hope for our future. You know, one of the most common questions I get asked is what motivates you? What inspires you? And frankly, it's young people like all of you. Young people who believe in service and helping one another, who believe that we can all be part of building the country we deserve. So thank you for being here. Thank you for continuing to inspire me and so many others. I'm looking forward to seeing each of your applications, and I wish each of you so much success in your service to our country. And now I'll turn it back over to Chris, who will introduce our Service Academy representatives.
Thank you, Congresswoman. So now, without further delay, I'd like to start with the first representative, and this is going to be for the United States Naval Academy, Mr. Philbrook. Go ahead, sir.
Okay, hopefully you can see my screen.
Yes.
Okay, so welcome everybody. My name is Mike Philbrook. I'm the area coordinator for San Diego Imperial Counties. I am a 1983 graduate from the United States Naval Academy. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to go through a quick overview of what the Naval Academy is, and then more detail on the application process. So the Naval Academy is basically located in Annapolis, Maryland. By the numbers, an 89% graduation rate, which is very high compared to most colleges, and that's actually in a 4-year graduation rate. And most of these statistics you'll hear are probably similar for all the service academies. So I'm lucky I get to go first. 100% employment after graduation, no tuition fees. In fact, you do get a stipend paid while attending the Naval Academy and the Service Academies. And we do have 26 majors. One of the prime things about the United States Naval Academy is its location. It is located about 25 miles from Baltimore and from Washington, D.C., which gives a great opportunity for internships during the summer and other opportunities just on weekends to visit the national capital and actually go visit Sara Jacobs if you're get your appointment from her. At the Naval Academy, it's probably next to the smallest of the service academies land-wise. Basically, everybody stays right there on the yard. Within the yard or the campus, we got barbershops, we got stores, we got laundry, medical, dental, all these things. Basically, the Brigade of Midshipmen is approximately 4,000, when this was done, 4,543 students from all 50 states, territories, and from foreign countries. Includes high school students as well as sailors and Marines and college students. They're all leaders, academic scholars, varsity athletes, and about 72% male and 28% female, and those numbers are going up. So at the Naval Academy, as I mentioned, it is an education undergraduate with the commissioning program in the United States Navy or United States Marine Corps. All students graduate with a Bachelor of Science degree. Even the English majors and political science majors end up with a Bachelor of Science. 26 majors, and we'll go through those in a second. We have a core curriculum, and as mentioned, there are internships available. I mentioned full scholarship, which includes room and board, tuition, medical, dental, your issued books, everything you need. After graduation, you go into the Marine Corps or the Navy. You do have a minimum of 5-year service commitment. You can be on the water, in the water, above the water. We have surface line, we have aviation, we have submarines. We have the Marine Corps, so you can be on land. Then we have cyber, medical, very limited. We've got the SEALs, we have EOD. So lots of different opportunities upon graduation. Here the majors are. Typically, the Naval Academy is very high in engineering and math and science. Usually 75% of each class has to be in those math, sciences, and engineering type classes. And there are some minors available in some of the foreign languages. Athletics are very important. The Naval Academy is Division I level, 33 teams. I think it's one of the largest, highest number of Division I level teams in the country, 11 women, 18 men. If you're not competing in a varsity sport, you may do a club sport. Club sports are very similar to varsity. They do travel, they do compete against other colleges and universities. We have 18 of those. If you're not in a varsity club, then you're in intramural sports. And each fall, spring, and summer, the midshipmen choose what they want to do, and they compete against the other companies within the Brigade of Midshipmen. So important. Application process. I recognize a couple of the names on the thing that on the call, and they're already started their process. The first thing is to fill out a preliminary application online. Once the preliminary application is filled out online, if you meet certain criteria, you'll be sent a link to start the full application. Full application is all done online. You'll be submitting email addresses of an English teacher, math teacher, school officials, a candidate fitness assessment proctor, and you can submit recommendations and those type of things. So there's a lot of things you have to do. The big thing that I recommend for all students is to make sure that when you do submit stuff to your teachers, to your counselors, follow up. A lot of times the emails may end up in junk email. The teacher may see it and say, well, I'll get to that. But it's very important that you follow up with the teachers and the counselors to make sure that they are making sure that they complete the application for you. Basically, typically, we get about 16,000 applications for preliminary applications. Some of those are for summer seminar. Of those, 12,000 are typically listed as candidates and allowed to complete an application. You complete the application. Once the application is complete, you go to the admissions board. And that's what we call part of the triple qualifications. So the first Q is admissions board. So you have to be admissions board qualified. The second Q, you have to be physically qualified by meeting minimum standards on the candidate fitness assessment. And then you have to be medically qualified. And that's a medical examination by DODMERB. And that'll be sent out to you for you to set it up. Then the other prong you have to do at the same time is you obtain your nomination. And that's what you're doing here. And besides the congressman's office, you do have your senators. Your senators you can apply to. A lot of you maybe all apply to the presidential. Everybody has vice presidential and there are other nomination sources. We strongly suggest that you apply to all possible nomination sources that you're eligible for. Then out of those 16,000 people, about 3,400 will actually complete their application and attain a nomination and be able to compete for an appointment. Of those 3,400, approximately 1,100 will be offered an appointment as early as, I know here in San Diego, we already have one student that has a letter of assurance, meaning as long as that person gets a nomination as medically qualified, they already have an appointment to the Naval Academy. Of that 1,100, about 200, and if you don't get a direct appointment, we do have the Naval Academy Prep School, where we have about 230 to 250 students attend, and that's high school students, and as well as active duty Navy and Marine Corps, and Coast Guard Academy attends there as well. Located in Newport, Rhode Island. We also have our foundation program, about 40 to 50 students. You go to a civilian military prep school across the nation. Neither one of these two programs can you directly apply to. When you go before the admissions board, the admission board will make a determination if you're eligible for either one of those two programs. So you cannot apply. So the advice from admissions, make sure in high school, take the strong math and science. Hopefully everybody's taken chemistry, physics, top 25%. The Naval Academy never advertises a minimum GPA or a GPA because at each school, the GPAs are different. So again, top 20% of your high school graduating class is important. Take your SAT, ACTs early and often. The Naval Academy does super scores, so they'll use the highest individual score on whatever test you take, whatever date you take. This year, again, the Naval Academy is being test flexible. So if you're unable to get a test in due to COVID, please make sure you do apply. Keep the documentations that your tests have been canceled, and the admissions counselor will probably ask you for that type of information to make sure that you have at least attempted to take the ACT and SAT. Again, the Naval Academy is looking for a well-rounded student, one that is active in athletics, one that's active in extracurricular activities, not only active in those activities, but we like you to be leadership. So leadership potential is one of the main things we look for. That could be in school, in church, if you have a job, anything that allows you to have leadership potential. So top 5 reasons to go to Navy, and I think this is very close to all the service academies: full scholarship, guaranteed unemployment upon graduation. We have a great location between Baltimore and Washington, D.C. Not only do you get an education, but it's also leadership and character development. And we have an 89% 4-year graduation rate. I'll go ahead and post this information in the chat window. If you want to go ahead and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, that would be great if you'd like to. So that's the end of my presentation, and I think we're going to take questions at the end.
Well, thank you, sir, and thank you for your presentation. The next, we will bring West Point, the Army. Go ahead, Major.
Great, thanks so much. I'll just pull my slides up here. Thanks everyone for joining this evening. My name is Major Brad Davis. I'm with the West Point admissions team here, and I cover not only California, but most of the West Coast as well. But thank you to the Congresswoman and Chris for hosting this evening. So with that, I'm going to cover a couple points this evening, both about kind of the West Point cadet experience and our application process. You're going to hear some common threads across all of the service academies this evening. So I'll try to focus my remarks on what makes West Point unique amongst all of the service academies. But for starters, I think it's important to understand our mission here at West Point is to develop leaders of character. Certainly leadership development is part of every service academies program, and that's part of our mission here as well. Ultimately, service to the nation is what we are about as one of the service academies. And I think it's important to note that the Army is our affiliated service branch. So if you come to West Point, expect to be going into the Army after graduation. When you come to West Point, you will be challenged both academically, but also mentally and physically. We're going to push you outside your comfort zone and teach you where your limits lie and how to kind of grow your capabilities a little bit further. Really just get you to a point where you are comfortable in an environment that's outside of maybe your historic comfort zone. But ultimately, like I mentioned, all of our graduates are going into the Army. This is 100% going into active duty service. As a graduate of West Point, your first responsibility will be a platoon leader. A platoon is a formation of about 30 soldiers. And so your job will be leading and managing that formation of soldiers from day one after you graduate from West Point. Ultimately, our career opportunities after West Point in the Army are highlighted on the slide here. All of the white font names that you see there are names of our basic branches of service within the Army that you'll be able to choose from. So some of these are stereotypically affiliated with the Army, things like infantry or artillery or armor, but there are some other technical oriented fields there, things like military intelligence, signal corps, engineer corps, cyber certainly are all options for you to exercise a variety of disciplines. But what I would highlight for you, what makes West Point and the Army different is that we are the largest service branch of Air Force, Army, Navy, and Marines. And so therefore, we actually have the most career options, not only in terms of basic branches, but in terms of subsequent opportunities for you. So we have almost 24 different functional areas you can go into after serving for a period of time in your basic branch. Things like the Judge Advocate Corps, if you wanted to go to law school and become an attorney in the Army. Special Forces is another option. I'm personally transitioning into a data analytics career field, which is a more functional area career field. So there's a lot of options here for you. So if you leave West Point, you become a pilot and you're an aviator, and you decide you're really passionate about that, you can continue pursuing that for your entire career. But maybe you decide, hey, I'd like to try something else. You have probably the most career flexibility within the Army branch to remain in military service and pursue different things. So important to note that there. So next we'll talk about West Point. Our campus is located in the Hudson River Valley, about 45 minutes north of New York City. Some of the key things here that you'll note on the slide, you can see that our campus is very dense, and I think that's to your benefit. When you wake up in the morning in your cadet barracks room, everything that you're going to need for the entire day, whether it's going to the mess hall for your meals or to the classroom for academics or out to our athletic fields, is going to be about a 5 to 10 minute walk from your barracks room that you reside in day to day. And so a lot of your time is going to be maximized on being in those developmental experiences and not so much, hey, I'm waiting on a bus shuttle to get me to the other side of campus or something like that. So you're definitely in an optimized environment here at West Point. And so as we talk about some of the things that make West Point different, I think we have a particular emphasis on leadership. That's because we know our graduates are immediately going to be leading a formation of other young men and women after graduating. And so certainly we've got some folks on the slide that are notable West Point graduates who have gone on to do great things in military service, but also private sector or public service in the government. And I think a lot of these folks can trace the impact that they had as leaders back to the leadership development that they received as cadets at West Point. And so next we'll talk about cadet life and a little bit about how that leadership development works. But ultimately at West Point, like all of the service academies, you're going to have small class sizes. 15 to 18 cadets is typical. Most of our faculty is comprised of military officers, so that may be a little bit different flavor than what you get at some other service academies. But ultimately, I think the benefit to you is these are folks that are able to put your classroom material into the same context of Army officership and the responsibilities that you'll have after graduation. So it's both parts academic development and curriculum and also kind of training and real practical application of the material you're going over in class as it pertains to your future career. As we talk about academic majors though, all of the service academies, including West Point, have strong STEM field offerings. And so West Point certainly has a variety of engineering, science, technology, and math topics there. But if you're not quite convinced that STEM is the field that you want to pursue, West Point actually has the most liberal arts offerings of all of the service academies. So if you know that a service academy and the challenge of military service is what you're seeking in your college experience, but you're not quite certain that STEM is where your passions lie, then I think West Point probably has the most options for you of all of the service academies. As we talk about the summers, again, your summers at all of the service academies are going to be focused on military training, and at West Point, our training is really focused on how to prepare you for serving as an Army officer. So you're going to be focused on developing small unit tactics, understanding how to operate a small formation, platoon level tactics in a tactical environment. You'll be able to go to schools like airborne school, where you learn how to parachute out of planes, air assault school, where you learn how to rappel out of helicopters. Those are just a couple of examples, but that's certainly not the limit. You've also got some other academic internship opportunities during the summer that may be partnered with another government service or a civilian company, but those opportunities can be domestic or abroad, but they're very much outside of the Department of Defense spectrum. So an opportunity for you to get some really unique experiences during your summer, not just in the military training arena. So next I'll focus on our application process and some of the aspects that make us unique there. Overall though, as with all of the service academies, we're looking for well-rounded folks that are demonstrating academic excellence, show leadership potential in what they're doing outside the classroom, and have fitness both in terms of physical fitness, but a good character fit as well. Ultimately, with our application, like I said, you'll see some common threads here across the academies, but we do have a test flexible policy that we've implemented this year. So if you've been trying to take SAT or ACT and have had trouble with testing being canceled due to COVID, we will have a test flexible policy this year. So we can use your PSAT scores to stand in for SAT or ACT, but understand that we will ask you for some proof or evidence that you were registered for SAT or ACT and that those tests were canceled due to COVID. Lastly, the other item here is the candidate fitness assessment. This is a common assessment across several of the service academies, but West Point is the only academy that requires a video submission for push-ups and pull-ups. So if you test the CFA for another academy, that's fine. We can take those scores, but just make sure you take those videos, as we will still require that submission there. As far as nominations go, you all are in the right spot for your local congressional district nomination process today. But just keep in mind, there's 3 other congressional nominations that you're eligible for as well. And there's 5 service-connected nominations, which you may be eligible for as well. So you can go to our website to get more information about the eligibility criteria for service-connected nominations. But the bottom line here is that having more nominations is to your benefit. So don't stop just because you received one nomination. Make sure you pursue all nominations that you're eligible for. And then lastly, as you hear different options and different information about the service academies this evening, I think it's important to stop and reflect about which academy really speaks to your personality and your interests most. I think if you're interested in leadership and you feel a passion for being part of a team and serving something larger than yourself, I think that's certainly important. But I think understand as you learn more about Army and some of the opportunities of leading a formation of soldiers and what's encompassed with that, if you feel alignment with that, then I think West Point may be a good choice for you. But I think across the board, you're not going to go wrong with any of the service academies. It's about finding the one that's the best fit for your passion and for your interest. Lastly, if you're an underclassman, if you're not familiar with our Summer Leaders Experience program, we do host that on campus here. It's a 1-week program this summer between your junior and senior year, but it's an opportunity to learn more about life as a cadet at West Point, and the application will open in the springtime of your junior year. So that's really just a great opportunity to get to know us better. It does not factor into your subsequent application during your senior year of high school. Lastly, again, if you don't follow us on social media, our handle is West Point Admissions, but I know it can be challenging to get out to our campus in New York from California for a college visit. So I would encourage you to follow us on social media. We try to put a lot of the content on there that reflects what you would experience if you came out for a visit. So you may see a social media takeover with one of our cadets for the day, and you get to follow them through class from the comfort of home in California. It's a little bit more accessible than actually coming out to visit. And lastly, I will save the questions for the end here. So with that, I will yield my remaining time. Thank you.
Thank you, Major. Thank you for your presentation. Next, we will have Captain Floyd, excuse me, from the ROTC program.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Captain Tamika Floyd. Can everyone hear me okay? Awesome. As I mentioned, I'm Captain Tamika Floyd with the Strategic Officer Recruiting Detachment. And pretty much we are providing additional opportunity to gain a pathway to officership in the Army. In addition to West Point, we have a scholarship that will provide either room and board or full tuition and fees. So without further ado, I want to bring up my slide presentation to show you a little bit more about how it works. All right, can everyone see the slide? Well, all right, awesome. So real briefly, the ROTC program is the Reserve Officer Training Program. Unlike West Point, is not a military institution. However, it is a program offered at an ROTC or a traditional college or university that will pay either full tuition fees or room and board. So essentially, you are a full-time student and you are required to take the Army Reserve military science courses in order to gain your commission through the ROTC program. How does it all work? The opportunities and benefits. So the ROTC program, as I stated, it will pay either full tuition fees or room and board. And then we will also receive up to $1,200 per academic year for your books. You'll receive a monthly stipend of $420 as a contract cadet. And you'll have access to internships, summer internships to help you secure your degree at the end of your matriculation for your degree at your college. And also have guaranteed job placements, whether you're in the active duty or you're going to the reserves or the National Guard. You will be 100% guaranteed a job upon completion of your degree and also the Army ROTC program. And it'll provide you with professional development in leadership and network opportunities. Basically, essentially, it's the same. It's a competitive process. So you have to make sure that you meet the requirements. You have to enroll as a full-time student as a college that you are obtaining your degree from. So whether that's UGA or San Diego State or UC San Diego here in the local area, by being a full-time student, that will be partial the eligibility of getting the Army ROTC scholarship. You also have to obtain at least 1,000 or 19 on the ACT. At this point in time, there's been no waivers in place. However, we are working to get that rectified to accommodate those who were unable to successfully take one or the other standardized test during the pandemic. And you must meet the height and weight requirement. This is essentially a contract with the Army, so you must abide by the guidance and regulations that are in place of the United States Army. You have to pass an CCA. The CCA is Cadet Command Assessment Test. Basically, assess your physical ability and to ensure that there are no restrictions or pre-existing conditions that will prevent you from successfully training. And those, the assessment consists of 1 minute push-ups, sit-ups, and a 1 mile run. So again, that's 1 minute for push-ups, 1 minute for sit-ups, in a 1 mile run. And it's important to perform the best of your ability and score as high as you possibly can on the push-ups and sit-ups, and complete the 1 mile run within the shortest time possible. And you also have to be able to secure a clear background check. As stated before, as a cadet in this program, you are essentially a member of the United States Armed Forces. So therefore, we must make sure that you're able to successfully complete the program and gain a commission as an officer once you successfully complete the program and obtain your degree. So in a sense, this is another pathway to gaining officership in addition to West Point. Is not to deter from West Point, but to give you additional options. I recommend that if you have the desire to serve as an officer in the United States Army, to apply for both options, just to increase your chances, and also to increase your chances of becoming an officer. And this is just one of many other ways to become an officer in the United States Army. So again, this is not to take away from West Point, but just to give you additional option if you truly have desire to serve as an officer in the United States Armed Forces. If you have any questions, I will leave my information in the chat box. Please do not hesitate to reach me by email or contact me at my cell number. If you call and I don't answer, please send me a text message and I'll do my very best to contact you at a later date. Also in the picture, these are some of our recent scholarship recipients up here in Southern California area, Los Angeles area in particular. These students receive scholarships to go to Howard, and the young lady in the middle, she's going to Princeton, and the young man on the far left is actually going to UCLA. So again, as I stated, this is additional options for you to secure an opportunity to become an officer in the United States Army. And without further ado, I will return the floor back over to Mr. Frantz. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Captain. Thank you for your presentation. Next, we will have the Coast Guard, Lieutenant Hugh.
Awesome. Thank you, sir. Share my screen here. So good afternoon, everyone. I'm Lieutenant JG John Hu. I'm currently serving as the West Coast Admissions Officer for the Coast Guard Academy here. So last year, I was actually the Midwest officer covering the Great Lakes region, and this year, now the West Coast. So I cover California, all the way out east, far east is Kansas and Nebraska. So certainly a large region, as well as Alaska and Hawaii. So I'm gonna share my screen, a full screen here. So here's just a campus. We're located in New London, Connecticut, which is about 2 hours right in between Boston and New York. So a pretty convenient location. I was a 2018 graduate of the Coast Guard Academy. Graduated with a degree in civil engineering. And so that was one of the great opportunities that you get, not just graduating from the Coast Guard, but from any service academy for that matter, is that you actually, during your commission, when you graduate, you have the opportunity to shake hands and meet with some of the top officials in government. So my year was actually my VP, the Vice President Mike Pence, came and spoke for our commencement, which was super nice. Had the opportunity to shake hands with him, take a nice photo. And this past year, the President POTUS was there, and his aide right now, he was actually my executive officer on my first tour, is the President's aide right now. So some pretty awesome connections that Coast Guard has. We're definitely the smallest of all the services. So in terms of the camaraderie and just getting to know people, certainly one of the great things about the service. So upon graduation, the vast majority of graduates will actually go to a cutter. Coast Guard, we're primarily, even though we're based out of land a lot, we're a water-based service. And so about 80 to 85% will go straight to a cutter. And so I went to my first tour upon graduating in 2018. I went to a cutter up in northern Michigan called the Coast Guard Cutter Mackinac. So we conducted ice breaking operations in the wintertime. Spent a lot of time in the St. Mary's River, which connects Lake Superior to Lake Michigan. And we assisted other vessels that got stuck in the ice and essentially kept the economy moving up there. And then we were also a dual platform tender as well. So we conducted buoy tending operations. We call it ATON in the Coast Guard, Aids to Navigation. So we serviced the buoys in the spring and fall time, which is pretty awesome. So I had a lot of fun those 2 years, learned a lot. And then now I'm back here as a missions officer. So kind of the Coast Guard as a whole, how we're different from the other services is that we're actually not under the DOD, Department of Defense. We're under DHS, which is Department of Homeland Security. So Coast Guard, prior to 9/11, actually, we were actually under the Department of Transportation. And after 9/11 and the global response to global terrorism, Congress shifted us over to Homeland Security, which is where we remain today. So we are the smallest of all the services with the exception of Space Force. But to give you an idea of how small the Coast Guard is, if you think about the NYPD has about 55,000 active duty police force. The Coast Guard has only about just under 45,000 active duty. So it's certainly very small. And you'll learn that not just at the Coast Guard Academy, but even when you graduate, pretty much every unit that I've ever went to, I've known someone or at least one person there. So we're very interconnected service. So the Coast Guard Academy as a whole, again, very small service, smallest service academies. We have about 1,000 cadets at any point, give or take. So right now we're just above 1,100. Those 1,100 cadets are broken up to 8 different companies, Alpha through Hotel. And you get assigned a company when you come in as a freshman, and then after you finish your 4th class or your freshman year, you get shotgunned into a different company where you remain there for the rest of your 3 years. So we have representation from all 50 states, as well as we get about 6 to 8 international students every single year. And then we are very high in terms of our minority representation at 36%, and we're about 40% female right now. So certainly up there, we're very diverse and inclusive environment at the Coast Guard Academy. So we're primarily an engineering school. So just as similar to all the other service academies, we're very STEM focused. So it's science, technology, engineering, mathematics. So when we review your application, kind of those are especially in the areas of calculus, physics, and chemistry, those are kind of the 3 areas that we're going to be looking heavily at. And then everything else is pretty similar across board to all the other service academies. You get a monthly stipend when you're there. So one of the great things about that, it kind of teaches you money management from a young age, which is not a skill set that the typical college student coming out of college or university is going to have. And then also job placement. One of the great things about the Coast Guard is that you get leadership opportunities very early on in your career. So you could be a commanding officer or an executive officer of your ship as early as your 2nd tour. So I had the option to go, become an XO of a ship my 2nd tour. So certainly opportunities that you get very, very early on, which you may not get if you go into the other branches until later on. And then the retention rate in the Coast Guard is very high. Just kind of a little bit of a personal story. When I applied to colleges, I got into Air Force, West Point, and Coast Guard. And one of the reasons why I chose Coast Guard was because of the service retention rate. After graduation, all service academies require a 5-year service, basically a 5-year obligation service payback time. So in the Coast Guard, that statistic refers to 85% of all the graduates from the Coast Guard Academy will actually stay in the Coast Guard, stay in service past those 5 years. So overall, it says a lot about service satisfaction. So people are overall very happy with the service, and I think for the most part, it's the people that make up the service. So phenomenal people, even my last tour, even the people who I serve with now, just phenomenal people all around. And because we are such a small school, the faculty and the student ratio is naturally very small. So we have a 1 to 7 faculty to student ratio. So you get a lot of that one-on-one attention with the professors and the instructors. So kind of the 3 of our pillars are academics, leadership, and athletics. Those are the kind of the 3 that we focus on. Here's a list of all the majors that we offer. If you look at, I'm not going to go through all of them individually, but as you can see, the vast majority of them are technically geared, are either engineering or technical majors. And we do offer non-technical majors as well, such as management and government. And then on the right-hand column are all the statutory missions of the Coast Guard. So these are the missions that the Coast Guard all across the world carry out on a daily basis, with search and rescue obviously being kind of our universal mission. Wherever you are, whether on a cutter or air station or maybe a small boat station, you're all going to be affiliated or involved with search and rescue to some degree. So you've probably seen in the movies where maybe a boat is drowning or the engines just blew up, and the Coast Guard is typically the first responders on scene. And then leadership and professional development is kind of that second pillar. So the goal of the 4 years of the academy is to ultimately develop leaders of character who are ready to lead in the operational Coast Guard once they graduate. And so kind of the core curriculum and the structure of the Corps of Cadets is structured in a way that allows cadets to develop those leadership skills throughout their 4 years, so that by the time they graduate, they're going to be ready to lead the junior enlisted force. Which, not to say, actually kind of a little bit counterintuitive. When you graduate as a junior officer, you're actually you have all the basic skills and knowledge, but you're actually doing the majority of your learning from you're learning from all your junior and senior enlisted people, because those are the people who've been in for the vast majority for longer than you have. So even though you might be tasked and put into some difficult situation in terms of decision making, But much of your first and your second tour is going to be learning tour from your junior and your senior enlisted folks. Summers at the Coast Guard Academy, you're going to be, I'm not going to go through all of these summers, but basically you'll have a lot of operational experience as well as internship opportunities. Your second class summer is really fun. You get to train the incoming class of freshmen. Kind of in that photo, actually that person getting yelled at was my classmate. He was actually, he was my roommate as well. So I always like to put that photo up to kind of not necessarily embarrass him. I just think it's kind of funny. But that's kind of swap summer, and then the cadre summer. So swap summer, you go in as a freshman, you get your head shaved, and then fast forward 2 years later, you're now doing the training, and you're enforcing and you're teaching all the swaps or the trainees the foundational military indoctrination that they need to know for the rest of their Coast Guard careers. In terms of sports, unlike Navy and Air Force, we're primarily Division III. Our sailing and rifle team are Division I. But yeah, like I said, we're mostly Division III. And so that kind of gives you the opportunity, if maybe your level at the athletic level is not so high to the point where you might be like a top college player, Division III is perfect. Because at least for me personally, I know if I had went to Air Force or Army, I probably would not have made it to the starting lineup or at least played at the top of their lineup. Whereas at Division III, you always have the opportunity to play. So please don't think that Division III is bad. It's certainly not. We play against some pretty awesome schools like BAPS and Trinity, even MIT's in Division III as well that we play all the time. So certainly some quality schools at the Division III level. Day in the life, you kind of take a read through that yourself, but overall, what you need to know about day in the life at any service academy is that it's pretty regimented. It's very arduous in terms of the hours. Pretty much every hour is blocked out for you. So time management is really the key to success at any service academy. You really have to manage your time properly. You're going to have a lot of duties, responsibilities, classes, obligations that you have to fulfill. And so you really have to manage your time and maximize any time that you have. In terms of the application wise, it's really the same. I will put that one plug that the primary differentiation between Coast Guard and the rest of the service academies is that we do not require a congressional letter of nomination. Again, we do not require a congressional nomination. So we only look at your application. So we're solely merit based. So whether or not, even if you've received a nomination for another service academy, we will not be looking at your nomination. So just keep that in mind for Coast Guard. Do not need a nomination. And that should be it. Yeah. Thanks a lot for your time, guys. Appreciate it.
All right, thanks, Lieutenant. Thank you for your presentation. Next, we will have the Air Force.
All right. How's everyone doing tonight? I am good to go. All right, let's get it started.
I think you might be missing some audio, Lieutenant.
Oh, is it not going? Whatever. Well, all right. I'm Second Lieutenant Peter Dobrovolsky. I graduated from the United States Air Force Academy back in May 2021. I'm as fresh as they make them. I'm originally from Queens, New York City boy. At the Academy, I was a political science major. I currently am an intelligence officer in the United States Air Force, but I'm doing this admissions advisor role for the time being before I go off to intel training in Goodfellow Air Force Base in good old San Angelo, Texas. At the Academy, I was a part of the Technical Assistance Club, otherwise known as RADX, and I was also a mountain biker. And of course, I'm a person, but this is my Academy experience, basically summed up in a couple pictures. You have day one, getting my hair shaved off and still having a smile on my face, and all that youthful sort of look to me. You have me jumping into the fountain at the end of my academic career at the Academy. You had the tribulations of COVID sending me home, and playing military in my apartment was an interesting experience. And you also have two pictures of two great programs I'm going to talk about. We'll talk about why I'm standing in front of an F-22 over in Anchorage, Alaska at Joint Base Elmendorf-Richardson. And we're also going to talk about why the heck I jumped out of an airplane. The Air Force Academy, it's located in beautiful Colorado Springs, Colorado. It's in a fantastic location. As you can see, it's right at the foothills of the Rocky Mountains. And unlike some of the other service academies, we allow our cadets to experience Colorado. We allow them to go out and experience Colorado Springs, experience the beautiful mountains. either for skiing or for hiking purposes. And you don't live and breathe the Air Force at the Air Force Academy. While you may live and breathe any service at a different service academy, we don't do that here. And some of the big things that we offer at the Air Force Academy that are unique to us is, as I mentioned earlier, jumping out of an airplane. You have the fantastic jump program where you get to jump out of an airplane 5 times on your own with all those 5 times. The only place in the country where you are your canopy commander on your first jump. And it's a fantastic experience. And that's cadets teaching cadets as well. When I jumped out of an airplane, I was being taught by a cadet who was certified to jump out of airplanes and to teach other people how to jump out of airplanes. That's a big theme at the Air Force Academy. We challenge our cadets not only by making them leaders, but also by making them specialists in something. And with that specialization, they're able to practice their leadership experience. And you also have, of course, the Power Flight program. You get to fly around the amazing terrain that we have around the Air Force Academy. We have a lot of different cyber opportunities available where you can work with either our governmental partners, whether that be the NSA or the CIA or the NGA, or some corporate partners, whether that be Cisco or IBM. There's so many other opportunities available through the cyber realm. And of course, we also have our satellite program. At the Air Force Academy, we currently have 3 satellites in operation that are manned 24/7 by both cadets and contractors. And if you want to see what satellite ops is like, you can do that at the Air Force Academy. Each of our satellites are multi-million dollars. I think the most expensive one is $55 million, and the cheapest one is $30 million. And it's crazy to see them launch up in a SpaceX rocket, and to see that satellite deploy, especially since a lot of cadets were able to work on that satellite and then see their efforts and their technologies in action for the United States Air Force. We also have a fantastic drone program at the United States Air Force Academy, whether that be our drone racing team or our drone operations team, where you get to work in an actual RPA squadron or remotely piloted aircraft squadron and see what it's like, see how it works, and be able to learn what the mission is while at the Air Force Academy. And of course, if you're more of a flyer, you can also participate in the glider program, where you get to fly a really light aircraft that has no engine and do some crazy acrobatic maneuvers. But you can also do endurance flying in it if that's sort of more your thing. You can fly 36 hours in one of those things without landing. It's a pretty cool thing that is capable of doing. But of course, here are our numbers. We're very proud of our engineering programs at the United States Air Force Academy. We have a heavy focus on academics, but we don't limit ourselves to academics, because we have this whole person development concept. Wow. We challenge and test you academically, athletically, and militarily at the United States Air Force Academy. To succeed and to excel at the Air Force Academy, you have to be proficient, but also you have to lead in all 3 of these categories. If you want to be a distinguished graduate or part of the 10% of the best at the Air Force Academy, you have to be good in all 3 of these categories. So let's talk about that academic category first. Here are majors and minors. Each cadet gets a Bachelor's of Science in one of these majors and minors, of course. And to that end, even if you're like me, a political science major, you're still going to be doing a lot of math. You're still going to be doing aeronautical engineering, astronautical engineering. But at the Air Force Academy, we help you through those classes. I was terrified to take electrical and computer engineering. It has a long name and it's a scary name, but I got through it because I got to get extra instruction from my instructors. I was able to work with people in the class who were more proficient at the class and were able to help me and make sure that I could succeed as much as I could. And I was also able to work with people who were in the actual major, who were doing it on a day-to-day and who love doing it. So we help each other out at the Air Force Academy. It's not just you, and it's never going to be just you, whether that be in your career or whether that be at the United States Air Force Academy. And of course, our athletics program is great. At the Air Force Academy, every cadet is an athlete, is something we like to say, because we are. You participate in one of 3 athletic programs. Either you participate in our D1 sport program, and we're very proud of our D1 teams. One of our big highlights that we like to talk about is how we beat the Naval Academy on their home turf in Annapolis. Not too long ago, we smoked them, and as we like to say, Army and Navy play for second, because they do historically. And if you can't be on a D1 team, or that's not your thing, that's okay. We also have a lot of club teams. You can be on a mountain biking team, such as myself. We have a shooting team. We have so many different teams, and if there's one not available for you, you can also set one up for yourself. I know we recently set up a rowing team, which is a really weird thing to do in Colorado, but we figure it out somehow. And if none of those 2 programs interest you, we also have our intramural program, where every cadet who isn't in one of those 2 programs that I mentioned earlier, basically they as a squadron compete with other squadrons for bragging rights, and it's a great way to sort of get to know your squadron and to work out with them. And going on to that third pillar of the triple threat, we have the military side of things. At the United States Air Force Academy, you have a continuous military development, and that starts off with basic training, where you turn from a civilian into a cadet at the Air Force Academy, and that continues on throughout your career at the Academy. You have the fantastic DNC drill and ceremonies that happen at the Air Force Academy, whether that be noon meal formation, which happens almost every day right before lunch. Apparently marching teaches you something and instills some values into you. I still have yet to learn what those values are, but hopefully I'll figure them out later. We also do a lot of land navigation. We have a beautiful campus, one of the largest in the countries. And we also have a lot of flyovers that happen. And those flyovers show you the power of air power in real time, whether that's you're sitting in your room waiting to get to class or just hanging out before a class, and all of a sudden a 4-ship of F-16s roars overhead and just gets you up, and everyone starts yelling. It's a fantastic experience. And another way we also get some more military values is having senior leaders come and talk to us. They give us their lessons, whether they're military or civilian. They talk to us about their experiences and give us leadership skills and lessons that we can utilize in our careers in the future. And of course, we did a lot of cool stuff over the summer. Putting all this together, you can do a foreign exchange program or Service Academy and ROTC exchange program. If you want to go up to prison in West Point, we'll send you there for a semester. Or if you want to go to Colombia, or the country, not the school, or Brazil, France, Germany, we send cadets all over the place for foreign exchange programs for a semester, and they have a fantastic time. But if you don't want to be there for a whole semester, we also have the language immersion and cultural immersion programs that also get you to other countries all around the world, and some fantastic experiences. Basically, it's a free trip just to learn about a new place that you've never been to, or to improve your language skills if you have them. And of course, we also have a lot of summer research opportunities. We are one of the most undergraduate research funded institutions in the United States, and we're very proud of that. We have a lot of corporate partners that we work with, whether that be partners that the United States Air Force operates with on a daily basis, Lockheed Martin, Tatron Systems. There's so many different companies that we work with, and we send cadets also to companies such as Chick-fil-A, as pictured there, or United States Congress. We work with our congressional partners a lot. We also send them to the Pentagon or the White House. There's a lot of fantastic programs you can take advantage of. My favorite program of all of these has to be the Ops Air Force program. The Ops Air Force program sends a cadet to an actual Air Force base for a 3-week period, and allows them to visit all the different career paths available to them after graduation at the Air Force Academy. And it's a fantastic program. I myself, as I said, got to go to Anchorage, Alaska. I got to experience Joint Base Elmendorf-Richardson, hang out with the F-22 unit down there, the C-17 guys, security forces, the pararescue men, the PJs. It was a fantastic experience. I learned a lot about the Air Force, and it helped me choose that career that most suited me, which was Intel in my case. And as well as these programs, we do a lot of other things at the Air Force Academy. We do a land navigation / SEER training program at the Air Force Academy, which is also run by cadets in association with, of course, our specialized SEER instructors in the United States Air Force. We also have a summer seminar program where high school students such as yourself are able to come out to the Academy, whether in person or virtually, and experience that cadet experience for a week-long time. It's a fantastic program that cadets also run. And also base cadet training that's run by cadets to teach you how to become a cadet if you come to the Air Force Academy. It's a fantastic way to sort of familiarize yourself with the United States military and the United States Air Force and our traditions, but also the rules and regulations and how we operate. And of course, you can also take a summer class. That class I talked about earlier, electrical and computer engineering, I was terrified to take that class, so I took it over the summer, and that was the only class at the Air Force Academy, engineering class, that I got an A in, and I was very proud of it, and I worked really hard to do that, and taking it over the summer allowed me to do that. And of course, what do you do after the Air Force Academy? Well, after the Air Force Academy, you have 35 different career fields open to you. Half of our graduates every year go on to become Air Force pilots, and that could be either a mobility pilot flying C-17s, transporting cargo all around the world. That could be fast and pointy fighter jet, doing some cool maneuvers and working with allies on a daily basis. Or that could also be some of our great bomber missions and putting warheads on foreheads on a daily basis and doing whatever the mission is. It's a fantastic career path. The three roommates here that I have with me, they're all going that way, and seeing them excel and love the program is a fantastic thing. And also 10% of our graduates every year also go into the Space Force. The United States Space Force is a new branch, but of the military. but it's an exciting one. It's up and coming. There's a lot of things changing, and there's a lot of opportunities offered, and we'll talk about some of those opportunities. And of course, we also send 10% of our graduates directly into graduate school. But if you don't go directly to graduate school, there's still so many options available as an officer of the United States Air Force to get a more formal education if you so choose to take advantage of it. And of course, that includes law school, medical school, and you can also do public policy right after the academy. And here are the Air Force officer opportunities, whether that be something that's longer than 5-year commitment, which is pilot, air battle manager, special tactics. These are jobs that require more specialized training that are sort of more rigorous on the Air Force. So they want you to serve a little bit more. It's typically 8 years. So they count that as 3 years of training and then 5 years of actually doing the job. And then you also have the jobs that don't require that. But there's so many fantastic things, whether that be OSI, which is basically the FBI of the Air Force. So they do some cool stuff, or contracting, where you can work with our congressional members to figure out sort of what equipment the United States Air Force needs and meet the needs of the national security strategy as required by your leadership. It's a fantastic thing to do. And also, if you're an engineer, you can do engineering for the United States Air Force. And of course, the Space Force has a lot of cool officer opportunities. The one specific one I want to talk about is space operators. Space operators, what they get to do, they get to operate the constellations of satellites that we have in operation and that are supporting the fight of all our services on a daily basis. Whether that be our communication system, or whether that be the GPS system that civilians are allowed to use as well. While we use them for putting warheads on warheads, the civilians use them just to figure out where they need to go or how to get there. And it's a fantastic thing you can do. And big things at the United States Air Force Academy, and most, if not all, of the service academies, is you have no tuition costs, no room or board costs. You have a guaranteed career coming out of these institutions. You also get a monthly stipend, and you get fantastic medical and dental coverage. And how do you apply? You just need to hit all of these qualifications, and that's it. I'm only going to talk about one of them right now because a lot of them are the same, but academically competitive. This is what we see from most of our cadets. Average high school GPA 3.85, average SAT, all those fancy numbers, ACT, all those fancy numbers. And it just shows how academically focused we are at the United States Air Force Academy. While it is a big priority, it's not the full thing. We look at a total person package when you're applying to the United States Air Force Academy, because you might be grade smart, but if you don't hit our two other big focus points of being athletic and having military focus, or having that character and leadership that we're looking for, you might not be considered to be a competitive applicant for the United States Air Force Academy. Here are our numbers. This is what happened for the class of 2024. We had 10,000 applicants, and that dropped down all the way to 1,145 cadets in the class in the end. And don't worry, it's very competitive to get United States Air Force Academy. If you don't get in your first time, we have these 2 great programs that can help you get prepared to apply again. The United States Air Force Academy Preparatory School is located at the United States Air Force Academy grounds, and it's just a year to prepare yourself more academically or physically for the United States Air Force Academy. And it gives you a year to sort of figure out if the military is for you, but also if you are competitive enough to go to the Air Force Academy in the future. And the Falcon Foundation does the same thing, but we work with other military schools all over the United States of America. How do you get started? Go to academymissions.com. There's a QR code if you want to scan that. And if you want to apply, the pre-candidate questionnaire is the place for you to go. That gives us some basic information so we can get you continued on the application process. We also have summer seminar, which I mentioned, and that's either virtual or in person. So if you don't want to fly out to Colorado, you can also do it online, which is pretty cool. I like that they do that now. And of course, we have social media programs, Future Falcon being one of them, where you can be on an email list and get some information about the Academy on a monthly basis. And that's it. That's the United States Air Force Academy. I'm Second Lieutenant Dobrowolski. I want to thank the Congresswoman staff for inviting me along, and I'm going to pass it along to the next presenter.
All right, thank you, Second Lieutenant. I appreciate your time and your presentation. Lastly, we'll have the Merchant Academy, and unfortunately, they weren't able to be here in person. However, we do have just a couple-minute video to kind of give over the basics of the Merchant Academy.
Sea is an experience you're not going to get anywhere else.
We get to sail and we get to see the entire world.
I went to Egypt, Sri Lanka, Singapore, Diego Garcia, Dubai, the Philippines, and Germany.
The United States Merchant Marine Academy prepares all of its students for a maritime career as a licensed merchant marine officer. During their second and third years at the Academy, midshipmen spend more than 300 days at sea, working and completing their sea project. Between ship assignments, they also complete a shore-based internship.
Each midshipman is required to go to sea for a full year.
My senior at Kings Point, I went to 12 different countries.
It's just you and your sea partner with the rest of the crew.
Going to Antarctica is very unique. It's very barren, it's very raw, it's very clean, not a lot of inhabitants down there. So it was certainly a very unique experience, and one that only 4 people in the school get to go on each year. So keep your grades up if you're trying to get down there.
But it is basically on-the-job training. As they say, it's an experience of a lifetime.
We have midshipmen on aircraft carriers, on submarines, Coast Guard cutters, tugboats, towboats, trawlers, fishing boats, container ships all around the globe.
During their time at sea, midshipmen travel in pairs while seeing the world.
It was an unparalleled experience, and it definitely gave me more confidence in going into the Merchant Marine, because now I know exactly what I'm going to have to go through upon graduation and what my job is going to be and my role on the ship.
You're doing lecture, you're going into the simulators, and then you're actually going out to sea to putting that all to use. And then when you finally do go out to sea, you will experience everything that you will experience here at the Academy. So you will be confident on the bridge, in the engine room, doing the things that you've already learned while you were here, so you feel comfortable while you're out to sea.
When you're on the ship, the job as a third assistant engineer becomes a lot more practical, because you learn a lot of the theory in school, but there's only so much hands-on they can give you. And so when they're talking about a certain part, like a diesel engine crankshaft, you don't necessarily know what that looks like 100% until you actually see it in action.
I had fun. I had so much fun. I learned a lot. I like going out to sea. Definitely helped with the education. It reinforced everything we learned in the classroom. On top of that, I feel like it gave me a better outlook on life in general.
Go out there for the seagoing experience. Go out and see the world.
Experience your sea year at the United States Merchant Marine Academy, where the world's oceans become your campus and the vessels your classrooms. Apply online at www.usmma.edu.
Okay, thank you to each one of our representatives for your presentations and for spending your evening with us tonight. Now we'd like to open it up for questions. So if you'd like to ask a question, please use the raise your hand feature in your Zoom window, or you can type the question in the chat box. Go ahead, Mr. Jack Johnson.
Thank you. I was wondering if the so I know that the CFA for all the academies is the same. I was wondering if the maximum score was the same for all of the academies as well.
I know for the Naval Academy, the maximums are listed. I've never compared them against the other service academies.
Yeah, speaking for West Point, I think probably similar line of thought. It's all the same events. Really what all the academies are looking for is for you to put your best foot forward and demonstrate your best effort there. I think that's if you're doing that, you're accomplishing exactly what all the service academies are looking for. I wouldn't worry so much about kind of, hey, am I getting the same score at Air Force or Army or what have you? So focus on putting your best foot forward. We're looking for folks that are eager to try to demonstrate their best effort. So I think that's what you should be focused on.
Okay, thank you.
Well, if no one else has any questions, I definitely do. So I'm never bashful. So one of the questions I have, and this is for each one of the Academy representatives, is looking back at your own time in the academy, what advice would you give to the incoming freshmen to be successful?
So I can speak for West Point. Like I mentioned in my briefing, West Point will challenge you. I think any service academy is going to challenge you and push you outside your comfort zone. Will challenge your assumptions about what you feel your strengths are or what you're good at. And so ultimately, it's important to have kind of that self-reflection prior to coming to any service academy and understanding, this is why I'm coming to the academy. This is why I'm seeking this challenge. Because when you get to West Point or any service academy and you encounter those challenges, if you're there just because you think, hey, mom or dad told me I should go to West Point because it would build character, you're not going to get the most out of those growth experiences. And so if you take some time to pause and reflect on that ahead of time, I think you'll know exactly how to overcome those challenges when you face them at whichever service academy you go to.
I'll go ahead and speak up for, especially during plebe summer, keep a sense of humor, always try to do your best. And let's see, I thought of something else earlier, but again, keep that sense of humor, and come academic year, hate to say this, but be prepared to handle failure. First time I got a D in a class in my life was at the Naval Academy. So be prepared to not be number one anymore.
All right. And speaking for the Air Force Academy, the Air Force Academy challenges you in a lot of ways. I know it challenged me, whether that be academically or militarily or physically. It's all about your attitude, is what we like to say. It's all about how you take the things that are being thrown at you and how you deal with them. I have my breakdowns, but I work through them. You have to work through everything, and that's what the Air Force Academy teaches you. It's all about perseverance and having that grit to keep on going even when it gets tough, and to sort of just persevere. It's the big thing, and it shows a lot about your character if you're able to do that. And I know all the service academies have that challenge and will challenge you in different ways. But it's all about how you react to getting it, and how you excel and keep on going.
I'd say, speaking on behalf of the Coast Guard Academy, with Coast Guard being such a small service academy, I think one thing looking back I would focus a lot more on is the relationship building, because I think especially my freshman year, I was focusing so much on trying to do the best academically that I almost laid to the wayside the relationship building, whereas that's really the more important, is building those relationships, because these are going to be the people who are going to be there for you, be there right next to your side when you are going through some tough times. So I think that goes the same when you, even at post-graduation too, like when you get to your first unit, you focus on building those relationships and making sure that you're on good terms with everyone before just hopping in and trying to focus so much on learning all the technicalities. So that's one thing I would tell my old self, is just to focus more on the networking and building those relationships, and don't get too caught up in all the weeds of all the different duties and obligations that they throw at all the first year cadets or midshipmen or wherever you are.
Thank you. And
real quick, Chris, I did a quick search for the CFA maximums for Thomas. And I looked at the West Point website and the Naval Academy website, and the maximums are the same.
Awesome. All right, thank you, sir. I think the final question I would have, and this is really just for the Naval Academy, is how does a prospective student become a Navy SEAL in going through the academy?
Okay, for the Navy SEALs and EOD, and actually the service assignment for the Naval Academy is done in such a way that throughout your time at the Naval Academy, you're putting in your choices. And especially for Navy SEALs and the EOD, there are other programs you have to go through, the mini buds and those type of programs. And then you go through a selection process, and they evaluate how you did in the programs, how you've done academically, how you've done physically. And then of those that have met the criteria, then they do a selection process.
Okay, thank you, sir. Are there any final questions for any of the presenters? Okay, well, thank you, students, for your questions. Before we close, I want to share some more details about the nomination selection process for our office. So the nomination application can be found on our website at sarajacobs.house.gov, and it'll be under the Services tab under the 2021 Service Academy nominations. The application should be filled out completely, and in addition, you should submit a recent photograph, a sealed copy of your most recent high school transcript, a sealed copy of your SAT or ACT scores, unofficial copies of your SAT or ACT scores, and a resume that includes extracurricular activities such as work experience, 2 letters of recommendation supporting your nomination, and then an essay of 500 words or less on why you would wish to attend, the prospective academy. The original completed application packet must be postmarked by October 25th or personally delivered in our office by November 1st to be considered. Once we receive your completed packet, potential nominees will be interviewed and evaluated by Congresswoman or Congressman Jacobs Academy Nominee Selection Board. This board is made up of individuals with unique knowledge of this requirements of the academies. And they will look closely at all aspects of the individuals under consideration. So applicants who qualify for nomination will be ranked in order of merit, and with the most highly qualified receiving nominations as availability at each academy allows. The slate of nominees will allow 10 individuals per opening available. There will be more qualified applicants than available openings, and in such case, the first 10 will be submitted. Further details, including selection criteria and frequently asked questions, again, please visit our website, sarajacobs.house.gov, and I'll drop that website link in Zoom chat for easy access. I'll also be available for questions throughout the application process. Again, I'm a retired chief of the Navy, spent 21 years in the Navy, so I have a pretty good working knowledge on how this stuff goes as well. And again, I'll leave my contact information in the chat. Or you can also call our office at 619-280-5353. So on behalf of Congresswoman Jacobs and our entire team, just want to thank you for joining us, and thank you again to our students for your interest in serving our nation. Have a great night.